to step 21 and add some linkages. We're also going to take a look at step 20, which includes the addition of a drive shaft and the engine. I'm going to hold off on adding the engine until I've painted it though. As you can see here, this one is broken. But the key to getting along with this stuff is just to, you know, strategically trim this stuff off the tree. Like where you're gonna maybe reduce some of the tension. So for me, I think what I'm gonna do is probably get rid of these ones first, and then that just leaves this side to pop off like that. Alright, are you gonna come off there, buddy, or what? Yeah, this one here is broken, but I wonder if I should try and glue it while it's on there, because that way everything will be lined up properly. Then again, yeah, I think that's the best idea here, because if I were to cut it off and then try and glue it, it might be hard to get the angles right? And they've taken off B uppercase and then a lowercase b 11 off, so that's a BB11. And the BB12 will remain on the tree for now. So looking at the drawing, let's orientate that way. B11 goes like that. Well, if you're going to clean this stuff up, this really skinny stuff that Miniart gives you, and I love it because it's accurate, and I learn how these things really will put together. So I'm not complaining, I'm just saying it's a bit of a challenge. So if you're going to trim these nubs off, I would suggest having a very sharp new blade to do it. Otherwise you might break it. That's FB4. And it's going to go somewhere on the chassis. I'm going to have to figure it out. So I figured out what those little pieces were here that we added. That's where FB4 and FB5 go on these things here. So how crazy is that? This is where it goes, right there. That's like a small piece. A hole in the front here. And then it lines up with those two other ones I just glued on. There's a little hole for a little pin to go into. A little bit of glue there, just so it'll grab it. Get in there. Stay there. I think these go into the brake drum somehow. I think they're related to that. Front one first, and then when that's set up, then maybe I can tackle the one at the back. Oh, and by the way, you know, these parts at the front, I wouldn't glue them on until the very end, because you're going to break them off. Alright, well I think I'm going to let those set up for now.
75. Ooh, that's a tiny one. And part A65 attaches about there. Let's see, this goes and slap that baby in there. And you gotta make sure it's in there right. It's beautifully detailed, I gotta tell you that much.
So I gave the engine a coat of green just as a preliminary color. I'll be going in and detail painting it later, and I'm just going to do a fit here to see how the torsion bar or whatever that is fits in the bottom. Part A65 fits into the bottom of the transmission. There's a little pin in an A65 that should fit into the bottom of the transmission.
Here you can see I've already put on a couple of the brake drums, and I gotta tell you, I am blown away by the level of detail that Miniart does with their kits. Because, like, tell me another manufacturer that actually gives you these linkages that go to the brake drums. Nobody. Nobody. Just get that all softened up. You see here on here, there's a couple of little tits here, right there and right there, and one of them has to go onto one of those linkages. Yeah, that's got to go right on that nut.
Okay, I'm going to start doing some painting now, and I'm going to use some Tamiya lacquer. I want to have a sort of a nice black, but I don't want it to be really shiny or anything like that, so I'm going to add a little bit of the gray to it as well to give me a nice soft black. I still have some more of these tiny suspension linkage parts to add, but I just want to, at this point, get a good, clear idea of where I'm at, and it'll help me understand where the next parts have to go.
Did a little pre-rusting down below there. It looks a little heavy. I may go back in with some black, and I might get into wiring it up. So anyway, I put this part here on wrong. It's actually supposed to face this way so that it can mate up with the B227. Fortunately, I was able to take it off and not have too much damage. There's a little hole in there. So I got this part in there, but it's a bit of a bitch because there's no real absolute point you're supposed to glue these into. Like there's no you know, hole or negative space. It's just you have to line it up with this thing and that. This is a BB14 BB28. They forgot to mention this part in the instructions. It's A85, I believe. It's got to be glued in to the transmission, so then I can glue in part BB28. So yeah, this part here, I've gone back through the construction and I can't find it mentioned anywhere. Parts A84 and part A86. These are BB9 and BB10.
Miniart has really provided some astoundingly amazing and wonderful detail, as you can see in these pictures here. So part DA4 was broken on the tree, and I fixed it while it was still attached to the sprue tree, as that's the best way to line everything up. If you have that problem, like I said before, try and fix it on the tree before you cut it off. I scraped off some paint here for the attachment points of these running board support.
Here you can see I put the bumper on. So yeah, you know, these parts here that are asked to be glued on earlier, I wouldn't. What I would do is I would glue them to this bumper and then put them on later, as late as you possibly can, because they're going to break off for sure. So next up is A24 and A23. You can see there's a little blip there, and yeah, that goes onto the front axle. Now we get to work with some bigger parts finally. So what we got here is a DE1. So we got the fender, front fender parts. So they also have some support parts, which are A68 and A67. Okay, here's 67. Side. You can see that it's form-fitting pretty much. Scraping back some of the paint on the frame, I'm able to glue on these. So I've got the fenders on, and I put the floor on just to make sure that the fenders are in the right position, because there's no real clear marking on how to do that. So A66.
Yeah, the fitment of these front body parts is a bit challenging, and go slow is all I can say. You can see here that on the passenger side there's a bit of a wonky thing there that I ended up having to fix later. I'll show you pictures.
Part 69, so to speak, and 70. That just slides right in there. Much glue for that one at all.